Okay, welcome to another edition of Carnivore Bites. I'm your host, Jeff Sherman, along with Dr. Eric Lopkin. And there's really only one thing in the news, Dr. Lopkin, and to me, it's very troubling. I think it's got social implications, obviously economic, huge, and political.
And of course, health.
Health, yeah. A couple things, and we're going to bounce some things, and hopefully we can be of service to our listening audience. I believe that the initial reports were completely fraudulent. I think this is much more dangerous than the flu.
Yes and no. It depends on the audience.
Oh, yeah.
If you have an underlying health problem already, it's much more dangerous. If you're healthy and you catch this, the odds are that it'll either be a mild flu or you won't even get any symptoms and you'll be fine. So it really depends on who gets hit.
Okay, but here's my question. The flu kills how many people a year?
I think this year's number so far is about 34,000 people have died.
Okay. Here's my conspiracy theory. If that's all you're saying is true, that, if you're compromised, if you're over a certain age, it's a problem, all that kind of stuff, then why the shutdown of the economy? I mean, if it's what everyone's saying it is, which I'm not so sure about, why shut down the entire economy?
Because you're trying to stop the spread. Just because you're not going to get symptoms doesn't mean you don't become a carrier. If you're a healthy individual, this is not going to kill you. You may not even have any symptoms if you get it, but you are a carrier and can bring it to people who it will kill.
Yes. Okay, but I guess what I'm saying is the way it's been so alarming, I just feel that there's something a little more to this. That's all I'm saying. I think that, the flu comes out, we had the N1, whatever it was called, nothing, the economy didn't even flinch. And the economy is shut down. And life is shut down. I don't know about, you live in Middletown. Where I live, it's completely shut down. People are not doing anything. Schools, everything is shut down.
Well, schools are shut down. Gyms, movie theaters are shut down. Restaurants are open, but they're prohibited from serving people in the restaurant. It's all takeout and delivery. And by the way, if this is the situation near you, I highly recommend go get takeout, have delivery, help your local economy by doing that.
You don't think it's dangerous to get takeout?
I did it last night. I'll probably do it again tomorrow. I want the restaurants in this area to survive, so I'm going to do my best to, obviously I can't go and sit there and have a meal there, but if I can call in, go grab the food and bring it home, absolutely. They're getting income and risk is minimal.
Okay. Politically, what happens? I think, and I think we are accurate on Carnivore Bites that Trump 3 weeks ago had a 70% chance of re-election. And I think it's no better than 50-50.
No, I think it's a little better than 50-50, but not much. It's probably 55-45. To be perfectly honest, the only reason he's even got that big a spread with this is because Biden and Sanders are such horrible candidates.
Agreed. And isn't it all about how he respects? If this thing ends, even though maybe, let's say it's not even his fault, okay? If this thing rebounds, let's do the math then. Let's do this. Do you agree that if this thing rebounds by, I don't know, July, then he's in pretty good shape?
If it rebounds by July, it's not going to have any effect on the election.
Okay.
I think the only way it's actually going to have an effect is if it actually goes into September, October, or if the media, which does have a tendency to do this, politicizes it. CNN the other day, and I was amazed that this came from CNN, mentioned the fact that it took Barack Obama longer to mobilize against H1N1 than it did Trump to mobilize against this.
Yes.
So
Okay, but
if you're just looking at actual events and facts, it shouldn't affect the election either way. If you were a Trump supporter before, you're going to be a Trump supporter now. If you weren't going to vote for Trump before, this isn't going to change your mind.
Here's my little caveat to that, my friend, and that is, if you were a Trump supporter and your 401k was doing well, you had a job at the factory and now you don't, it's a problem. It's a problem.
If you lose your job, it's going to be a problem, depending on what kind of stimulus Trump manages to get through. If you've got cash in your pocket, if you're getting unemployment benefits, and you get back to work by August, September, it's not going to affect the election.
Agreed.
If you're out of work in November, it's definitely going to affect the election.
What do you think the chances of what your first case scenario is happening?
I think by September we'll be back to a semblance of normal. I think the economy won't be back to the point where it was before all of this, but it will still be better than it was 4 years ago.
Okay. We'll see what happens there. What do you think? And here's one of the keys, I believe, is the 2-week window. And let me explain. I really believe the 2 weeks is critical, the 15 days, whatever they said. If people go along with what the directives are, and most people that I know are, this thing could start ebbing.
Yes, the infection curve, what the epidemiologists keep referring to. Right now, it was a very steep curve. It was going up and up and up, and by separating people for 2 weeks, and the key is the social distancing, because this is only pretty much going from person to person. They just did a study. The virus remains viable on a surface for 3 days, up to 3 days. So if you're bleaching and disinfecting your surfaces and cleaning your house and washing your hands, and for 2 weeks, people stay away from each other, the infection curve is going to flatten out. Once they get it to flatten out, the dire effects that it's been having on the economy, on workforces, on people, everything flattens out and things start becoming much easier to get back to normal.
Agreed.
So yeah,
agreed. Well, we agree with every. So I think it's very dire. Make no mistake about it. I believe unemployment could go up to 20%, maybe more. And I think it's all about the 2 weeks. Do you agree?
It's definitely all about the 2 weeks. They're expecting unemployment to peak at about 20%. They've already extended unemployment benefits past the initial number of weeks.
6 months? What is it? 6 months? I don't know what it is. Yeah.
I'm not sure what they extended it to, but it's a longer period that people will be getting people are eligible for unemployment. And they extended who is eligible for unemployment. And that's big, because prior to this, you had to be an employee to get unemployment benefits. Now they've extended it to independent contractors. So that's going to help a lot more people.
Well, we're going to have to keep an eye on this. Any final thoughts, Dr. Lopkin? Very, very scary times, correct?
It's scary times, but it's not the time to panic. If people remain calm, if people follow the directives about social distancing and not being in crowds for the next 2 weeks, I believe we will see the curve flatten out, and things will start getting back to normal. Also, they're talking about all sorts of stimulus packages being passed. They're all in negotiation right now. If they pass economic stimulus, especially some of the things that they've been talking about, direct bailouts of industries that are affected most directly, and stimulus of actually just sending money to every adult. If they do this and people stay in place, there's actually a possibility that when all is said and done, once we get to the other side of this, we'll actually be in better shape than we were when we started.
We will see how it goes. And that concludes this very little dark version of Carnivore Bites, Dr. Lopkin.
See you next week.
You've been listening to Carnivore Bites, part of the Exvadio Podcast Network. You can catch us every week on carnivoreradio.com, exvadio.com/podcasts, the Apple Podcast Store, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you find podcasts.